But first, let's talk about the state of our economy, because yesterday we broke the news on this show that inflation had reached 3%, the highest level in 10 months. And this morning in The Sun, Ashley Armstrong, business editor, has written a great piece on page 10 on the subject of that, saying, sorry, Chancellor, just chanting the word growth won't make it magically happen. I fear that you're absolutely right. Ashley, very good morning to you.
Hi, morning. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I mean, you must be about as tired as I am of hearing Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves saying, you know, this is why we're putting money back in people's pockets, working people will be better off. They keep
Exactly.
saying it as if it's true when it clearly isn't.
I know it's exactly that. I mean, we kind of thought in that run up to them winning the election, they were talking about growth. The Chancellor was talking about growth. Growth was the answer, and then you thought, oh, there's got to be a plan.
Yeah.
And there hasn't really been until kind of the other month, like the other week, when there was the growth speech and it was a lot of rehashed ideas. The problem is that at the same time, we know we've talked about before that massive budget that was a huge blow on business, which actually kind of then led to that falsehood of the Chancellor saying that, you know, it wasn't a tax raid, it was keeping national insurance exactly where it was. And I think every man and woman in the street could see that wasn't true when it came to kind of their job prospects, the country's finances. And then yesterday's inflation figures kind of really were another blow, because we've got that horrible risk of stagflation now, where we've got inflation creeping back a bit higher, largely due to the things that Downing Street has done in the budget, and zero to little growth, 0.1.
And just tell us what stagflation means, because a lot of people
Yeah.
will hear that word and they see it written in headlines, but they kind of go, what does it mean?
Totally, and it is that kind of like jargon thing that I think people feel mystified about, but it's actually quite simple. It's stagnating economy. It's sort of the portmanteau of the meshing of words. So you get the stagnating economy when you're trundling along at this, you know, hardly kind of eyebrow raising
Yeah.
0.1% growth, and then mixed with inflation and the rate of price rises kind of going up. So that kind of horrible, nasty mix, because it's the worst of all worlds. You know, if you do have a growing economy, then generally people and businesses can afford higher prices because things are going gangbusters.
Right.
That's not here.
It's really not. And I mean, some commentators have fallen for it as well, haven't they? Because I remember last week when we had the growth figure that came out, 0.1%, and some people were actually saying, oh, some good news for Rachel Reeves. You're kind of going, well, how's it good news? It's 0.1%. I
Well, it
mean,
was good news because in a way that it wasn't recession. I mean,
well,
you know,
no.
you're clutching at
But,
straws. Yeah.
but you almost wonder whether they're just kind of slightly tickling it up a little bit to make sure it's not a recession. So technically speaking, it's not a recession, but you're only really, you know, 0.2 away from it.
Yeah, and I think that is right. I think that there is a bit of nervousness going around. So after the budget, there was lots of anger in business, right? And then a few months down the line, it's quite interesting. Some of those bigger names have actually got very quiet. And it's because there's a genuine worry in the city and in business that if they keep talking down the economy, if it keeps being kind of trumpeted up as, yes, we're a bit of a basket case and look at what the
Yes.
government's done, then actually it impacts them, because international investors think, oh, the UK, oh, it's in a mess again, or it's not growing, or it's another reason not to invest, and that kind of affects their own share prices. So it's this self-interest actually of, you know, let's not talk it down too much. But
Right.
I think we should be honest about our prospects.
Well, it's a bit late, isn't it, to start suddenly being truthful, because there haven't been really much up to now. So it'd be a whole new meaning of the government for them. But I mean, I'm reading a report this morning as well from the British Retail Consortium and
Yeah.
Opinion, which says the confidence index stands at minus 37. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. This means
No.
that consumer confidence has plunged to yet another new low.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that is right. And it's actually that kind of the consumer that is going to be affected by the budget as exactly that kind of lower income household,
Yeah.
or that household that actually required flexible work to get back into the workforce. And so if you are in one of these jobs, you're probably most nervous because your company and firm has already been signaling these staffing costs we can't afford. We're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah, exactly right. And also we got news this week that next week the energy price cap is going to go up
Yeah,
yet again by £85. I think that's the third rise since
that's right.
Labour
Yeah,
have got in after the fact that they promised to freeze the energy price cap. So that's going to put prices up as well, isn't it? It's going to put suppliers' prices up. It's going to put
exactly.
food prices up. It's going to put all deliveries up. Everything's going to go up again.
Yeah, well, the off-gen price cap is on the household bill front, but I mean, businesses also kind of have been loudly complaining that the UK is already stuck with the
Mm.
highest electricity prices in the world,
Mm.
and it's not going to come down. And actually, Cornwall Insights, that analyst that made that price cap forecast just this week, they said, actually that huge drive for that clean power push isn't going to bring down bills in the short term either. So actually, there needs to be a bit more help for those
Mm.
households rather than this very expensive push when nobody else is making the same dash.
Right. And is Rachel Reeves still looking at some kind of financial statement in March?
I think so, yeah. I mean, what's going to be in it is more of a guesswork. I think it's going to be, but yes, yeah. I think there's definitely something that's going to be coming, and a lot will depend on how much of the government budget she can slash on
Right.
her own.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, there's talk this morning in the Times of 5 billion being slashed from the welfare budget,
Yeah.
which sounds ambitious and is ambitious. I don't know where they're going to find that from, and it's going to be pretty tough. So, especially when they want to give another 4.5 billion to Ukraine.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, that kind of defense is going to become a much more political and bigger issue on that, kind of how do you get that? And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you start talking about those small percentages, but it's a real signal, especially to the rest of the world, about, how we are taking defense seriously. So I think Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer will be definitely under pressure to be sending a bigger signal. Foreign governments don't necessarily care so much how much we spend on welfare, they
Yeah.
do on defense.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ashley, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Ashley Armstrong, there, business editor at The Sun. Big piece in The Sun today on page 10. It just shows you what UK inflation was doing. You might remember when it rose all that way up to sort of nearly 11%, just over 11% back in sort of 2022, 23, and then it's come back down into 24. At the beginning of the year, it was down around 4%, and then it kind of dropped down below 3% in the last kind of 10 months, basically. And now it's going back up again. A picture of Rachel Reeves looking rather alarmed. I think she should be.